Today we're here with Enola Marshall and we're going to be talking a little bit more about the performing world. Enola Marshall, you're now a newlywed. You're a Marshall. Congratulations.
That's right, thank you.
So last time I seen you was actually at your wedding, so it's nice to actually be able to sit down and have a good chat with you.
I know, because it was like trying to get round everyone there. It was a bit chaotic.
But yeah, talk to us a little bit more about what you're doing for work now and sort of, how you got there really.
So I've always been in the performing industry for most of my life, but just kind of in and out of it in different areas. So at the moment, I am really enjoying growing my business that I started in lockdown called Enchanted Events Manchester, which is predominantly a princess entertainment company, but it's not just the princesses. We've got different characters, and so I'm enjoying taking that into different avenues. And I still have an agent and audition for things in the industry as well, trying to steer more towards screen than stage at the moment. Mm-hmm. And other than that, I just do a few little jobs here and there, and have my fingers in different pies.
Multiple strings to your bow. That's what we were talking about in one of our last episodes as well.
Yeah.
So it's good to have multiple different strings to your bow.
Yeah, I just would get a bit bored if I just stuck to one thing. I do like to do a variety of things. Mm-hmm. Obviously not too much that it's going to burn me out, but just to keep things interesting.
Yeah. How, I know you mentioned then you started your business in lockdown. What was that like? One, starting the business, and two, was that a challenge in itself, starting it when you started it, or was it one of the reasons that allowed you to start it? Because this is the space we're in now. This business started in lockdown as well.
Really?
So for us, it was like we had the time to actually go it alone. Is that something similar to yourself, or?
Yeah, I think time was a lot to do with it, having that time to take that step back and think, which I think most people did in lockdown. And it actually came from me doing a job in lockdown that I was kind of forced to do at the time financially, and absolutely hating it. And it kind of gave me that push to do something for myself, because the job I was doing in lockdown was doing a lot of little jobs like as a PA for other people. It sounds a bit weird, but then I was like, no, I want to be that person that has the PA doing things for me. I was like, I don't want to be on this side of things. And it gave me that push to start my own business, whereas I don't think I would have had the confidence prior to lockdown to maybe take that risk and take that jump. Mm-hmm. Because I already worked as a performer for a princess company, did like big events and things. So I never thought of branching out for myself until it got to that point where I was like, no, actually, I think I could just try it and see how it goes, because I started doing videos for free during lockdown just to keep people entertained when children didn't have any entertainment going on or any places to go. And then I got a lot of interest from that. So then it kind of was like, okay, well, maybe I could do this myself and see what happens. And I'd say it was one of the best choices I've ever made, actually. Yeah.
Was that a scary moment? Or was it gradual, or was it sort of like, okay, let's do it?
It was kind of a bit of both. Yeah, I thought I'll start a bit smaller, obviously, and just see where it takes me. But then, because I don't come from a business background as such, I didn't have a clue of that area of things, and that was probably what the challenge was, because it was kind of trial and error navigating that area and just having to learn all about it from scratch.
Yeah, because the actual like performing side you had locked in anyway, like that was your thing.
Yeah.
So it was the actual like business side that was the sort of the first like hurdle almost.
Yeah, definitely. And just how to set all that up, how to go about it.
What do you think's helped you with that?
I think just learning as you go.
Mm-hmm.
There's so much out there online, lots of resources nowadays to sort of, you can watch videos, you can read things, and then just doing it on the job. And I guess once you start having clients and, doing the jobs, you see what people want and what the expectation is, and then how to manage that. And I think it just kind of then gradually fell into place. Yeah. I'm still learning though, like still
Every
very
day's
much trial and
day.
absolutely. I'll still do things, or something will happen and I'm just like, I didn't expect that, and how do I navigate that? How do I get around that?
It's those things that you're not taught in school, is it? Like how to do your tax return and all that jazz.
I know. Get an accountant, this, that, and the other.
How did it feel when? Because you said something clicked when you were PAing for someone else. How did it click when you sent someone out on their first job and you took on that role? Was it a bit overwhelming, or did it really like solidify that this is the right decision?
You mean when I took people on board to work for me?
Yeah, when you flipped the roles and sort of you were running the business, did that feeling like sinking? Okay, this is how it should feel. Like, this is how I want it to feel.
Yeah, I mean, at first I was a bit scared at first, just to have that much pressure on my shoulders, to then be like, okay, I don't have anyone to go to now. This is me. I've started it. I have to kind of trust my own instincts and make my own decisions. But it was just nice also to have that control. So then I had creative control over things. And then when I did get people on board, it was nice to have them share my vision and put that trust in them, and send them out onto jobs and start building the business, which was nice. But yeah, finding people to do that job is also a challenge in itself, because I think people underestimate the princess party world. Yeah. It's actually a lot harder than it looks.
Tasha's told me a little bit.
Yeah, because it sounds very easy. Oh, we just go to parties and sing.
Yeah.
But
and for anyone who doesn't know, so how I met Enola was because I worked with your dad, didn't I?
Yeah.
And there was like an Elsa next door singing, and I thought, oh, maybe I could do that. And then I was chatting to your dad, and he was like, my daughter has opened a princess party company, and she's looking for people.
Yeah.
And so, how long have I worked for you for now?
I think it's just over 2 years, isn't it?
Wow, that's crazy.
Yeah.
Do you want to tell us a little bit about, obviously from both of your perspectives, like the day-to-day of being in this role and in this industry? Like, what does it mean to go to a princess party?
I think definitely what Enola's saying about people underestimating it is massive.
I mean, it would be nice to actually hear from your perspective. How
I feel on the spot now.
What you feel like, because obviously I've been in it for years, but
I think it definitely requires a lot more energy than what people think. I think people just think, oh, you sing some Disney songs and entertain kids.
So what?
And it's like, no.
tell us like the day to day. Then, like on a Saturday now, or like what would be your day if you were to do a party?
So do you want to go from booking, and then maybe like when a booking comes through and like how that works?
Yeah, I can do if you want to know.
Yeah, of course. Yeah. And I don't know much about it, so teach me.
That's fine.
Yeah.
Well, I can tell you from the booking side, and then you can take over from if I give you a booking, if you like.
Yeah.
So, okay. So I obviously at the moment am very busy, get a lot of inquiries come through the website or social media. And then what I would do first and foremost is check performers' availability, see who's up for the booking, wants to take it on. And we have an array of different package options that people choose from. So sometimes they might want just half an hour. Sometimes they might want full 2 hours, which is pretty much taking on a full event for someone. We also do collaborations with a few different companies as well, so it might be doing something at their venue, and then we also put on our own events like princess balls and things like that, which is a bit newer, which I can talk about later, or we might do a certain event somewhere. So let's just take a standard party. I'd obviously ask Tash if she was free, and if she was, I'd tell her the character, what the party is, where it is, do you want to take it? If she accepts, then I would basically send all that information over the week of, get the costume and everything to you, and then you get an email to say, here's all the details, here's the structure of everything, and then it would be over to you to go.
It's actually, just before I say like about the parties themselves and the actual bookings, it's a real full circle moment, and it's really nice for me personally to hear you talking about the business and like seeing the ball like this year, for example, like over the past 2.5 years, like watching Enchanted Events grow, and how much like it's been quite an inspiration to me actually, like watching how much hard work you've put into it and just seeing it grow, and from being one of your only performers to now having like you having multiple performers on your books, like it's
thank you.
Yeah, it's just really nice to hear her actually speak about that.
Yeah.
We were saying on another podcast as well, you don't actually have much time to reflect on past things and actually just take note and give yourself credit for how far you've come. So it's quite nice to hear that actually.
Because stuff happens so fast, doesn't it, that you forget like where you started and see that growth, I guess. And I think people don't realise what goes on behind the scenes. You just see the finished product. But that's actually a lot of work that's gone into that
goes behind the actual booking itself. Like the booking itself is just one small part of it.
And at the moment I am still like a one-man band when it comes to all that, so I'm doing all the admin, I'm doing all the social media, the promoting,
which is a job in itself.
Which is
social
a job,
media.
yeah. And then I would go out and perform as well, and keeping everything upgraded and consistent.
Yeah.
So I'd like to get to that place where I do take some more people on board to do other roles as well, so I can maybe concentrate on just one area a bit more.
Yeah, but the actual bookings themselves, like you were saying, that I think people do underestimate how much sort of goes into it. Energy-wise, I don't think anything else has floors me quite the same. If you have like a couple of bookings in one day, I'm like, woo! I don't know, it just floors you, and I think it's because you're keeping up that persona, aren't you, and keeping the magic alive in the parties, which I've learnt from you, and so, and keeping that professionalism as well with the parents. And even though you sort of making sure the children are entertained at all times and they're believing in the magic that you're creating, being aware that you're in, on some occasions, like a much bigger event where you're running the structure of it as well. It's not just you're there to just sing, like you are running the whole party.
Yeah. So when the booking comes through, then you have to get yourself ready to be in that mindset for that day and get into your character. And
that's one thing I will say, actually, that I think Enchanted Events is just amazing for, and why I love working for you as well. It doesn't matter what day you're having. I don't know if you'd agree. It doesn't matter what day you're having. As soon as you come into a party and come out, it just takes you into another world, and it doesn't matter what's gone on in the day afterwards. You always come out of it feeling, you might be a bit tired, but you've forgotten about whatever it was that was going on before.
Yeah, it's quite uplifting. I guess you don't have time to think about anything else when you're in there as well. It's just kind of, you're immersed into it, and then you come out feeling a lot more energetic. Well, not energetic because you are tired, but do you know what I mean? Like mentally a bit more positive and
stimulated.
Yeah, definitely. So obviously when you receive a booking your end, and then I've accepted it, and then the time of the booking comes through, pre-booking, get ready, do my makeup.
Do you have a favourite? Do you have a list of princesses that you'll do, or is there a list that Enola you will send that, or do they choose a specific princess? Like they'll choose like Elsa.
Yeah, so usually the client will tell you what they want to book. So for the most part, I think you do quite a lot of the characters, don't you, personally? But it isn't one size fits all, and some people might be suited to certain characters as opposed to other ones, especially vocally as well, because Disney style songs are quite demanding, and people don't realise actually how hard they are to sing, especially when you're entertaining at the same time and you're in full costume. So they're not suited to everybody, whereas I do think you've took on quite an array of characters over the time and done really well with them. So I don't know who your favourite would be, but...
I think Ariel. I like Ariel's songs. Yeah. I don't necessarily think I suit the red hair the best.
I like it.
But what's your favourite?
I would say Ariel as well, actually.
Yeah.
Didn't you say Rapunzel last time?
No.
Did I not ask you that? Have I dreamt that?
I know. I think because when I was coming in to record a podcast, I'd come from a party.
Oh,
and I was Rapunzel.
Right.
Or I was going to a party, either or.
How does it feel? I've just thought, obviously, because you're getting the booking in and you're sending it to Tash. How does it feel, sort of relinquishing that control and having trust in a performer? Because obviously you get the booking through and you give it to Tash, and then at that point you're sort of, it's out of your hands then. How do you, obviously you're going to get feedback off the client, and you've got to hope that the person representing you and your brand and your business has upheld the standards that you want to have.
Yeah, this is another challenge, because I'm a bit of a perfectionist, being a Virgo, and I guess it's a funny one, because I don't want to be too controlling and too come across as patronising or micromanaging anybody, and I want to have that trust and just want people to feel like they're having fun doing the job as well. But there is a standard to hit, just because I think clients these days, they are honest, and they'll tell you their honest feedback, and if they're not happy with something, they're going to tell you, because they're paying good money for these events. So you have to definitely have that trust that someone's going to definitely represent your brand in the most positive way. So that's a challenge as well, because not everybody does. Again, it's trial and error. It's sending people out and having that faith, and then the feedback will obviously determine how that's gone.
The proof in the pudding.
Yeah, exactly. And again, you're never really going to know until you actually just take that risk. Obviously, I do a casting process which has gotten a little bit stricter over time. And then obviously just going from client and performer feedback, and any collaborations I do as well, the people who are in charge of those venues will give feedback as well. So
that's how I got in.
You just
it wasn't that strict back in the day.
No, you've always been great. To be honest, you've always had really good feedback. So
that's good. That's good to hear. You do feel that though as well, and I think maybe that's come from, just to add to what you were saying, Enola, maybe that's come from like my parents coming from a business background as well. I think I've always respected, and I don't think everybody does necessarily, and it's a shame, but a lot of people do, just come from a background of business, so I understand how hard she will have worked, and so you feel responsible. Like, I do feel a sense of responsibility. It's not I just show up and I'll give it the bare minimum because I can't be bothered on the day. It's not that. Like,
that's good. The risk is some people might not always have the same respect for the person they're working for, which is something that I suppose as you grow is probably a little bit harder to control as well, because you've got more people working for you, and it's as you grow, maybe it's a little bit harder to instill your culture as you grow, really.
But I think even from that, just recently, to try and continue instilling sort of that standard, are you doing training videos recently as well? So it's like constantly adapting how that
constantly
sort of works.
When more people come on board. But also, I think as performers, you would expect performers to want to just be good for themselves. It's not necessarily, obviously it's nice to have people share your vision and obviously want to respect your business. But I think I just want to give performers opportunities to keep performing. It's a hard industry, and I feel like a job role like this keeps people working on the craft. If they like singing, performing, they get to be in front of an audience every week. So why wouldn't you want to be your best self? Why wouldn't you want to bring 100% to that for yourself? Because you never know who's watching. Done bookings for an array of clients, and you just don't know who's there in the room.
What it could lead to for them.
Because it has led me to a couple of different things.
So let's touch on that then. So you were saying that obviously being a performer and in this industry, you don't always get the chance to perform weekly. And that's why I love it as well, because it keeps me singing and it keeps me performing. So it's great. But how did you get into the industry? Where did you start off?
So from a really young age, to be honest, I did ballet and dancing from when I was 3 till about 11 or 12. So I've always had that background. And then I just fell in love with musical theatre when I was like 10. I used to be obsessed with Annie and Oliver and all that. But I also had an interest in so much other stuff. So I found it hard to stick to one path, which is probably why I didn't just go down that musical theatre pathway, go to drama school and just follow that route. I kind of did an array of things. So I did performing at school. Then I went on to college to do performing arts. And then I was going to go to drama school, but I just decided I'd go to university instead. That's a decision I'm still on the fence about whether it was right or not for me. There's always a part of me that thinks, should I have just maybe gone to a drama school and gone down the musical theatre route entirely? But things happen for a reason, so we'll go with that. But yeah, then I ended up going to university, same course that you actually did, where I could do a bit of behind the scenes and behind the camera and stuff, as well as performing. And then whilst I was at uni, I spent a lot of time getting involved in projects outside of uni, and then just networking and meeting people. And then I managed to land an agent before I'd even finished uni, and then I just started auditioning.
And what was that like, your first audition?
I think it was in London, and had to get a coach down because I was like, oh, the trains are really expensive and I'm a poor student.
Still are.
Yeah, I know. And I think it was for like a panto, actually. And then I started auditioning for overseas work and landed a job as a lead vocalist. And then that was kind of the lift off then, I think, of some really nice jobs and contracts that I did. And then, funnily enough, from doing overseas work and from who I worked with, I got picked up to do the Britain's Got Talent band, which, was a great experience. Definitely an insight to that kind of world.
So let's unpick that a little bit then. So how did that come about? So when did you get spotted for Britain's Got Talent, or how did that situation come about?
So I was working in Cyprus, and I was in like a production cast, and I was singing alongside a few other people as a lead vocalist, and there was one girl that I was singing with, and I think we just had good on stage chemistry. And then our director at the time managed a couple of different bands for Britain's Got Talent as a kind of scout. I don't know if I'm allowed to say this, but yeah, it's a little bit of a fix.
Yeah.
So he basically said, I'm looking to do a girl version of Calabro. I don't know if you remember the musical theatre boy band, but they didn't know if they're going to take it down the musical theatre route again or something different, and it did end up being like the Disney style. But obviously there's a lot of copyright involved in that, so it was a bit niche and it was a bit like, where's that going to go? But yeah, so we just got put into a band, and actually it started out, there was 5 of us and it was all 5-part harmony. It was amazing and I loved it, but unfortunately due to a few contract things, when you go onto a show like that, some of the girls ended up dropping out just because their agent wasn't happy with it, or they decided they didn't want to do it. So we ended up as a 4, and then actually no, that was wrong, there was 5 of us still, but 2 days before the audition one of the girls dropped out.
Oh, no.
And it ended up as a 4, and we had like a day to
Change
everything to 4-part harmony. It was chaos, but
was your first audition going to be on telly as well?
Yeah.
Wow.
So we were straight to that, so it was very overwhelming.
And how old were you then?
24.
So how did that feel as a 24-year-old going on to broadcast television for the first time, having someone dropped out the day before?
Yeah, it was just a lot of emotions. I think because we kept rehearsing, and we just wanted to do well, and like I think you're just very exposed. It's the most exposing thing ever, because you're in front of not only an audience on a West End stage and then the celebrity judges, but you're then also on television, and you don't know if you're just up for scrutiny. Is that the word?
Yeah.
Like, you know what? You don't know
straight in the public eye.
Yeah,
isn't it?
you don't know what opinions people are going to have. You don't know how they're going to edit it, portray you.
Yeah, that's true.
We didn't think about that until it actually came out on TV, and you see what they've done with it. But
and that was for the first audition, and then you
yeah.
also went through onto the live shows.
Yeah.
To the semi-finals.
Yeah.
How did that feel? That step up. I mean, as a performer, like, it's got to be one of the biggest stages you can be on in this country, especially to the people it's not just, like you said, it's not just in the room. Is that even more overwhelming?
Yeah, the live show was a lot, because they tell you, like, not only are you having to use equipment you might not have used before, like with the in-ear things, and you're looking at certain cameras, and if you're not used to that and it's the first time you've ever done it, it's quite overwhelming. And then not only that, that you're singing in front of 11 million viewers at the time.
No pressure.
So it was like, well, I can't mess it up, I can't get the words wrong.
Yeah. Did that reinforce though, like, because obviously that's sort of like pretty high level to be at. Did it reinforce like, this is what I want to keep doing, or did you think this maybe is a bit too much, or it's not? How do you deal with sort of being at that such high level?
I think it's a bit of both, really. I really enjoyed the experience, and it made me think, I would love to do more of this. But it also made me realise that, you can be put to that level and then you can drop back down again quite easily. So it's hard when somebody's put you there as opposed to getting there yourself. With shows like that, that's a big thing, really, because it can just end.
Yeah.
And I think, actually, this sounds a bit extreme, but at the time, journalists and things were quite overwhelming, and it was me, of course it was me, got a story written about me. It was a really ridiculous story, but that was scary, because I was like, it's an invasion of privacy, and it kind of gave me like a bit of an insight as to how that world might actually be, and whether it would be for me, because I at the time I was quite sensitive, and I was thinking, oh my goodness, I have to privatise everything. They're going to try and dig for absolutely anything and put it out there in a newspaper. Like, that's quite
very intrusive.
Yeah. So
it's probably not a very good representation of the industry as well, because
not.
Like Britain's Got Talent or something of that kind is not. It's not like the real industry, I would say. It's an extreme sort of reality version of it. So it especially if it's like your first time in that, it could definitely scare you off, because you could think this is what it's going to be like forever down this path.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah. And like working in television, like I've never worked on a talent platform before. I've always done factual or factual entertainment. So my line of work in TV hasn't been from that perspective. So it's really interesting actually to hear someone's experience sort of that process.
Yeah.
There should be more like safeguarding, really.
I think there is now,
yeah,
hopefully. But I don't know how long these shows will last for anymore, because I don't know. I don't watch it anymore, to be honest. But
yeah, it definitely seemed like more of a thing. X Factor, Britain's Got Talent was more of a, you sit down with your family at a certain time of the day, and like 7 p.m. whatever it was, you all sat down and it was like, right, it doesn't matter what you're doing, we're all watching X Factor. I don't know, that's what it was like.
Before you could pause TV and it was like, the advert's finished, it's back on.
Yeah, oh my gosh, yeah.
But I think like this was pre-TikTok and stuff as well, and I feel like now social media and people putting their talent out there online and getting, brand deals and kind of getting in the public eye from that angle kind of overshadows shows like that now, I feel. I mean, that's just my opinion, but back when I did it, I think a lot of people still did watch it.
Yeah, I mean, it's a lot more accessible now to put a video out and it go anywhere.
Just playing devil's advocate, one show that I think does it quite well still, but it'll be interesting, the casting side of it probably does come a lot from social media, is The Voice. So The Voice is still sort of a prominent,
I feel like why that works, so it's a little bit more serious.
Like
when you watch Britain's Got Talent now, like there's a lot, it's like 50-50 of like people that were never going to go through and then people that are going to be in the semi-finals. That's I actually watched it this year and that was it. Like they either were a bit of a joke or they were in the semi-final. They were the only two acts that came on.
Which is funny, because the people who are considered the gimmick, they would have had to go through around like a few rounds of auditions. So I think they must feel like they've got through for a reason. Yeah. But then they get to that point and they're told no. It must be quite...
It's an entertainment show, isn't it, at the end of the day? So
yeah. So how many auditions did you guys have to do then, or was it just sort of a given from the get-go that you were going to be on in the semi-final?
Yeah, we just went straight to... We didn't have to do any in front of producers.
You went straight to the judges?
Yeah. You went straight to the judges?
Yeah.
So how many rounds was that before semi-final?
One.
Just literally one?
Just that, and then straight to the semi-final. In the middle, we had to go and stand on a stage and be told whether we were going to the semi-final or not.
Yeah, so do you feel, because you went straight to the semi-finals, did you feel prepared enough for that? Do you think you were thrown a bit too far into the deep end?
I guess so, yeah. But we did get to rehearse leading up to it, and that was probably the best experience of it all, I would say, between the audition and the semi-finals, because we got to go on this morning, we got to do loads of interviews, we got to go and have dress fittings, we all had these amazing dresses and like designer shoes and stuff, and it just gave you like a glimpse of that lifestyle, which was the nice part of it. But then as soon as you're eliminated, it's like crash back down to earth. But to be honest, I did get some jobs off the back of that then, which was nice, and it was a nice platform to have got to. Yeah. Even if it didn't propel me, to a really high platform like it can with some people, I still took a lot away from that experience, and it did change my course in a few different ways.
Did you feel supported coming off the show?
No.
Okay.
Oh, straight up no. No, they're just done after that.
Okay.
It's good that you had the mindset of take the positives away from it, but you weren't sort of expecting it to be like you said, like catapult and stay at that level, because I feel like some people might come up, because like they're so high level, when you do, like you say, come your feet are back on the ground a little bit, your motivation might be gone because you've had a taste of that a little bit, and you're sort of hoping it carries on. But obviously you maybe a tiny bit more realistic to take what you got from it and used what you got from it. So you still took a lot of positives from it.
Definitely. I think as well, I just sort of knew, because of the path it went down with it being Disney style things and it being copyright, we couldn't have really carried on, I don't think, as that kind of group. It would have had to have been changed into something else, and whether that would have worked or not, I don't know, because we were going to do a theatre tour as the group, but I made the decision to not do that because I moved to London instead, and it was kind of a toss-up between stay with the band and hopefully something happens, or move to London and start a new life for myself. And I don't regret that decision, because I feel like, if anything, from being on the semi-finals, that would have been, if it was going to go somewhere, it would have from that. But to then go back to kind of, I think it was like a year, like or a few months later, to then do like a small theatre tour, I just didn't think it was gonna work.
Yeah.
We did a few concerts straight afterwards, which was quite nice. At like kids festivals and Christmas light switch-ons, but yeah, I made that decision to leave the band, which was a bit of like
To leave the band.
an uproar at the time. But yeah, then I moved to London and
were there any sort of like misconceptions about the show itself, or anything that sort of like surprised you once you'd seen behind the curtain?
I think just how staged some of the interview questions are on shows like that. I actually straight up refused to answer some of them because they were so ridiculous. Like they try and make you say things, and it was like, I'm not saying that. I wouldn't say that.
Do you remember an example of one of them?
Yeah, it's really cringe.
Oh,
Go on, I'm ready.
Right, okay. So obviously it was Disney-esque, and one of the producers said, "So can you just talk about the judges being the villains, and then say, if they don't like us, they can just let it go."
Oh no.
So I went, no. No, I'm not saying that. No, absolutely drawing the line at that. So I didn't say it. We didn't. Yeah.
I don't blame you. I don't blame you.
That sort of
I think
a little bit to feel like I was there.
It was my whole body just went,
Oh.
no.
I think you have to have quite thick skin in that sense then, because in that industry, and I know I work in telly, but like there's loads of different arms to it, and I'm not sort of in that world of it. But I think you probably do have to have quite thick skin, because there's so many people involved with a show like that. It's huge. And you'll constantly be getting, like, even, you know, I know we've spoken in the past, and you've mentioned like the makeup that you had on, and you just didn't feel like
I feel like I was the diva of I'm not a diva at all, but I just thought, I'm not going on to live telly looking like a corpse. Like, I was literally, somebody said that. Somebody had said it over radio and came back and said, you need to change that girl's makeup because she looks like a corpse.
Oh my god.
Because they'd just done it really, really pale. And I was looking at myself like, I can't go out like this. But no, you don't have any creative control. That's the only thing I would say. Like, everything's done for you, even the vocal arrangements. As
well, you've got to be, imagine you've got to be quite like on it, because I've worked with a producer in the past, and you'll hear them speak to someone, and because it's quite a hectic environment, there's, can you say this, and without thinking, the person might just say it, or the person might just quickly go along with it, and it's afterwards they'll be like, oh, I wouldn't normally say that, but because of the situation you're in, the pressure you're in, so to be able to sort of be like, still maintain your composure is, is a good thing.
I mean, I did end up saying some cringy stuff still. If you ever watch it, it's not a great point of reference for me.
I'm gonna go home and watch it now.
Vocally or anything like that, so don't judge me off that. It was a decade ago, but still a lot of cringy things came out.
I'm glad to hear it was a decade ago, because I feel like I have to defend the television industry at some point in this conversation.
Like I said, I feel like it has changed now.
Yeah, 100%. Like,
that was the height of talent shows as well.
Yeah.
Like mid 2010s, early 2010s.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Like Britain's Got Talent and X Factor, and they were like really huge.
Yeah, definitely. I think there's so many more like policies and procedures that come into place now, and just sort of, and your duty of care for people who come on the show.
100%.
Like I know, watching my producer, for example, on the show that I've just been working on, she has everyone that goes out on a shoot, she'll always have a follow-up call with them, like straight after. She has like pre-TX calls, like there's a constant check-in, and we're always made to remind people that if you need us, we're always here. If you've got any questions, come back to us.
That's good.
I don't think that really would have existed then.
No, and like Sykes as well. Like,
well, I was going to say, when that story got released in The Sun, it wasn't it wasn't anything bad, but I didn't know that. I thought it was going to be bad. I thought it was going to get hate mail from people, because
did you have anyone there?
People are crazy.
Did you have anyone there that was like explained it to you? Did everyone there that explain what was happening? Like, even if they just turned around and said, listen, that you're a bit in the public eye now, this is something to just expect, but we're gonna even give you not counselling, what's the word, just advice.
They
just wasn't there.
No, it was just, this is coming out, we're giving you a heads up,
right?
Make everything private.
The end.
But before those safeguarding things, they probably didn't mind, because it was more exposure for their TV show, really.
I mean, it wasn't great for me, because it was, they'd gone and found tweets that I'd tweeted about X Factor back in like 2008 which were negative, and we're like, look what's gone on here.
Oh gosh.
Yeah.
They just pluck stories out of every, you know, they dig into everything, don't they? I think, yeah, it's definitely come a long way. I know, for example, like the show I've just worked on, they have like a contributor care chat. You have to constantly remind people, you know, like you're in the public eye, things may be said, we'll be there to support you. We can't necessarily take things down, but X, Y, Z, there's a whole spiel that you say at different points in the casting process, let alone when you go out on shoot.
Right.
Do you think that's from like shows like Love Island and stuff, and over the years they've because of things that have happened as a result of programs like that, they've then had to really step up the duty of care, haven't they?
I think yes, and I'd also like to think there is somebody at the top that I said this is not okay.
Yeah.
I don't know whether that is
There's
true
been so
or
many
not,
like
but
case studies that it was sort of inevitable that something has to be put in place to protect people.
Yeah, 100%.
It's like those reality shows now, when people come off them, or even when people are on them, they can be pretty like hurt by it.
And I think people on shows like that now as well, they do go off the show and suddenly have a lot of following, and they seem to do get a lot of exposure. It must be a culture shock to be like,
whichever end of the spectrum like it goes, it's still a lot to deal with either way. And so I think it's important that you're supported through that. So how do you feel like, I think it's important that you're supported through that. So what would you say you learned from that whole process, or what was one big takeaway from it all?
I think that things are not always what they seem, and you also sort of have to make your own luck in this world as well, and not just rely on somebody putting you there. And just it taught me that the industry is hard and it's very fickle. And 1 minute you can be doing really well, and the next minute you might be back to square one. And it's about having that resilience and perseverance if it's something that you fully want to do. But it's also okay not to be, you don't have to be famous to be in the industry and enjoy doing what you want to do. And it's not just all about the following and the fame aspect, because it's not necessarily a good thing all the time. Like, it might not be suited to you. And if you've got a passion, it's something you want to do, then do it because that's what you want to do, and not just doing it for the following and fame and all that side of
for
things.
what could come
Definitely
with it,
taught me that, because I didn't realise prior to that, I was all like, oh, I'd love to be famous, this, that and the other. And I mean, if that's what you want, then obviously that's absolutely fine. But for me personally, what I took away was that it's just not always what you think.
We spoke about this briefly. I was like what level do you have to get to find fulfillment in like an industry? Like, you don't have to be like the absolute, famous person, or at the very, very top of your industry to feel fulfilled. Like, you can still get a lot, and people would rather be.
Yeah, and to sort of pursue it as a career, I think some people think if you're not in Hollywood, like you're not doing well for yourself. I think it's I think the performing industry, like especially whether it's singing, acting, is, I think, one of the worst industries for that, arguably, because it's
There's
almost
such a high
like,
level you can get to.
Yeah, I think that, and I think sort of when people see that you're performing, or it's like, oh, so
what have you been in?
Yeah, what have you been in? It's like straight to that, and it's like, actually, you can generate a very, very good income from not being on the West End. And there's that's just a different lifestyle in itself, and it depends if you're a performer. Like, I don't know if you'd agree with this, but like, if you're a performer, you can perform still and make it work for the life that you want, and it doesn't have to be the stereotypical XYZ things. But I think people's brains jump straight to that, obviously, because it's just what's publicised more, or because it's what they know more.
If you're not doing that, then you're not doing it.
You've not made it.
Yeah. But you're still doing a career and doing what you love, and you're still within that industry.
And this industry is based on
from
luck a lot of the time as well. You can be really skilled at what you do, but if you've not had that aligning of the stars and that lucky kind of break, like right place, right time, I do think that this industry is still very much about that. And sometimes it is just about how you look as well. If you fit somebody's vision and they pull you in for something, and then it's the right time for you. Because there's so many people that are so good and so talented, and they don't always, get that exposure and that opportunity just literally based on luck. And then some people do. So you just got to do it for yourself, I think. And if that happens, then great, and it could propel you to do things more in the public eye and at a higher level, and that's great if you want to do that. But I just think it's what you want to do at the end of the day, and just as long as you're enjoying what you are doing, enjoy the journey as well.
Yeah.
We spoke a lot about that in the last pod, didn't we, as well, about
yeah.
sort of enjoying the process.
Yeah, you've got to, I think. You can't just, from what I've learned over the years, is don't just keep waiting for that, like you were saying about having that fulfillment. If you just keep thinking about that all the time and not enjoy what you're doing in the process, you just miss a load of things along the way. And before you know it, you know, the years are going by and you still might not have quite reached that goal, but you look back and think, oh, actually, I've done all these things. Like, why wasn't I present in that moment to enjoy all these nice little steps along the way?
Yeah.
So
I definitely relate to that.
Fast forwarding then to now, coming from being on Britain's Got Talent, I imagine you're not doing as much performing now. Do you miss that side of things a little bit, or are you glad the way sort of your career's gone after from the last sort of, well, since then really?
Yeah, well, straight after that, I was doing quite a bit of performing. But now, I think I'm quite happy taking a little bit of a step back from that and concentrating on a business. But I still audition, I still do things. I just haven't focused on it solely as I used to. But
there's a little bit less pressure now as well.
Yeah, there's less pressure, definitely less pressure, and I've put less pressure on myself. And I've also realised that you can kind of go back into it when you feel like you want to. Maybe not so much stage stuff. Like, I've kind of put that to bed in terms of musical theatre, just because it's a very niche path, and I think you've got to maybe go down certain routes to get to that, and age-wise and things as well. I don't know. It's not impossible, but it's harder as you get older. But I think with TV, I feel like that is something you can go back to at any age and at any kind of level and start building from there again. So it's something I definitely wanted to look back into when I have more time to focus on that.
And I guess it's that thing of where your energy goes.
Yeah.
Get the same right. Where the energy goes is what grows.
Yeah.
And you've been putting, sort of, like you said before, a lot of energy and a lot of time into your business.
Yeah.
And growing Enchanted Events as a business as well, to give you more opportunities for yourself and for your life as well. So, but it's quite nice, I guess, would you agree? It's quite nice to have an agent, because you're still represented, aren't you? You've still got an agent, to have that running alongside, so you're still being put in for things as well alongside that.
Yeah, it is nice. I still do self-tapes and things for bits and bobs. It's just I haven't gone as much full force into that at the moment, but it's just nice to know that I can go back to that, and you never know what might happen in the future and what might come of that if I go down that pathway again. But I just would like to get my business to a particular place where I can then maybe take a bit of a step back, and I've got people working for Enchanted Events doing most of the performing side of things, and then I've kind of took more of a backseat, and then I can maybe focus on some other areas of my life whilst that's running in the background. But at the moment it's just been quite full on
Spinning lots of plates.
Lots of plates.
Something I wanted to ask you then is, how have you handled the growth? Because obviously you've grown a lot since you started.
Yeah.
How have you found managing the growth? How have you found the level that you're at and where you want to grow to? Has it been manageable? Has it been times where it's sort of been a bit like you're backpedaling a little bit to keep up with the growth?
Yeah, I mean, sometimes I've been very, very close to just calling it quits, to be honest with you, in the last 6 months, because it started at a nice pace that I could manage on my own. And I have been working other, like, I want to say muggle jobs. We kind of call them muggle jobs in the industry, you know, like a day job.
Yeah.
Like little bits of that as well. So managing that as like a baseline. It was fine until it got to a point where it started to get really busy. And because it's just me, I found it really hard to juggle it all and still go out and do it as well. And that, I think that's, again, some things that people don't realise and don't see. But yeah, it can get a bit overwhelming when you've gone from like having just like a few inquiries each week and it's manageable and you get everyone booked in and sorted and everything, to then suddenly on all different platforms you're getting a variety of people just wanting the same days, the same weekends, this, that and the other, and it's a bigger demand, and then it's trying to, you know, fulfill all of that just by myself, which was a big but
have you also sort of enjoyed that pressure as well? Because it must be a nice feeling as well, and what do you call it, like reinforcing that your business plan is working, like
Yeah.
everything's going well, but obviously it's just a lot to maintain and manage and
Yeah,
look after yourself at the same time.
definitely. No, it is really nice. It's nice that word of mouth's got round and people, and I get a lot of returning clients, which is nice. It obviously shows I've done something right. And it just inspires me to keep going and to keep improving. And I get a lot of ideas and I'm like, oh, I'd like to do this and maybe do this. So yeah, I have got a lot of, it's just executing the ideas that I have then and like going down that path and doing it.
Like with anything, there's just so many little bits, like we said before, that you maybe don't see behind the scenes. Like even if we've got parties on a weekend, it's like in the week we need to meet at some point in the week to swap a costume, and even that's just I have to think about, which reminds me, we've got a costume in the car. But that's just me having to think about me and the costume that Enola's given me. But when there's multiple performers on the books and there's just one of her, it's just like with
the admin alone is a job in itself, isn't it, really?
Yeah, it's trying to find those it's trying to find the most logistically efficient way of doing things as well. It's really hard. Obviously the dream would be to get multiple costumes of each character eventually, so everyone can just keep them and not have to keep swapping, and which I'm doing slowly, but again it's just getting there. It's just a bit of a journey. You've kind of got to reinvest back into the company as well as doing everything.
And where do you see over the next couple of years, because I know you spoke about the balls and stuff like that, do you have because I imagine you're not done growing, like you're going to keep growing, do you have any sort of goals you want to be hitting over the next couple of years?
Yeah, I'd like to have a lot more people on board with I want to open a lot more opportunities up for performers as well to do bigger events, collaborate with a few more businesses and venues to do like bigger ball events, Christmas events. And eventually, I mean, I haven't thought about it too much at the moment, but eventually I maybe would like to have my own venue.
Yeah.
So people can come to that.
That'd be good.
Yeah, but it's just working towards those goals. I guess it's going to be over the next few years and we'll just see how things go. It's about kind of revising business plans a lot. And
yeah, we spoke this morning about keeping motivated and how like you can have your big goal, but then having like even like a weekly goal or a monthly goal to help, keep yourself.
Yeah.
Because sometimes you have like a massive goal and you can't quite tick it off yet. It feels nice to be ticking off smaller steps because then you can keep putting that tick.
Yeah.
And I think as well, opportunities, the more you're doing a lot of things every weekend and networking and meeting other people, and the more things you put out on social media and then the feedback you get, and then from doing events like these balls that we've put on, you find that then people come to you as well. So I've had like quite a few venues come to me recently and ask me, because the other year it was me emailing out everybody saying, oh, can we come and do this? Would you like some princesses or characters at your event? And I'm the one going out and asking, which is, I'll always encourage people to do and get out there. But it's nice to then have people coming to me and actually asking me for a change.
Yeah.
So I think that just shows that the more you do regularly and make a good name for yourself, the more people want to work with you then. And then it just kind of snowballs from there a little bit.
Would you have any advice for people that maybe were like, starting off in the performing industry? For obviously you've said like when you did Britain's Got Talent, things have a lot sort of changed now in terms of like social media and stuff. Is anything like a piece of advice you would give people to get themselves out there or get opportunities?
Yeah, I think for anyone that's an aspiring performer, I would always say go to classes, work on your craft and get an agent who can help you and mentor you and get you seen by people. I would say if you have something specific in mind, a specific direction and route, concentrate on that specific route. For example, if you do want to go into musical theatre, maybe do explore those drama school avenues and don't just put them to the side. Like if that's something you really want to go down, I would say really go down that avenue. But I'd say use social media as well. At this point, if you're an aspiring performer starting from scratch quite a young age, just put stuff out there. I think it's just taking that risk, and you never know who's watching, and create your own work, and then you never know where it would lead. But I'd just say my advice, and the advice that I would have given my younger self, is to just not be afraid of putting yourself out there and just seeing what happens.
Yeah.
Don't hold back, don't wait for the right moment, just kind of learn as you go.
Because that is a daunting feeling to put yourself out there,
It's really
especially
daunting.
something as vulnerable as like performing.
Yeah.
And
And
I
especially-
wouldn't know what it feels like to be a princess for the day and put it out there. But I can imagine it's daunting.
And yeah, it's interesting because I think dressing up as a princess puts on a bit of a persona.
Yeah.
Naturally, and then you're in character. I find that easier
Yeah.
than singing as me as Tash.
Because more exposing as yourself, isn't it?
100%, and it's that thing of when you're in front of a camera and you've got to be 100% yourself and authentic and genuine. I think that is actually one of the hardest things to do, and I think social media is such an amazing tool now. Like Enola's saying, put stuff out there from a young age. You never know who's watching, and you never know when you could get picked up along the way, etc. But then with performing, there's a personal growth that goes alongside you as a performer because it is you.
Yeah.
So like naturally over years you will grow. So it's sort of I don't know, it's a funny space, isn't it? Do you know what I mean?
Yeah, no, I find it way harder to do things as myself, for sure. But I guess, again, it depends what type of aspiring performer you are. So if you do want to do something that's more you, like being a recording artist, for example, then I guess that's a completely different approach, because that might be a bit more daunting to put yourself and your own music out there. And my hat goes off to people who do that, because that is scary. But I'd say the same thing. I think you just have to have that belief in yourself. And if that's something you really want to do, you can't be afraid to put that out there, because you're always going to get somebody who doesn't like something, but you can't please everyone no matter what you do. So you might as well just put it out there, and then you will get a good response as well, and hopefully that would motivate you to keep going. But I think it is easier sometimes to hide behind a character because it's not you, but then that's its own skill in itself, because then you've got to be good at portraying a character or
And you can't dip in and out of the character when you're in character.
No.
Yeah, so I think in general,
And kids are your worst critic, I feel, as well. Your worst.
Definitely, they will try and unpick a lot of things, and staying in character is really a challenge at that point.
Yeah.
So you're saying you're sort of like protected by the character because you can just sort of be that person for the 2 hours or the hour that it is.
Yeah, I've never really thought about it in the way that you've just said it as well. Like, maybe that's just me not thinking about like the skills that we might have, to go out there and be princesses. Like, you don't necessarily. For me, that does just come a lot naturally and a lot more easier than being me singing.
Yeah.
But yeah, maybe that's because sort of, like you say, suspending disbelief is more of a thing rather than and something I'm better at rather than like singing as Tash. I think it's much more exciting singing as a character.
Yeah, I think it's whatever you prefer, each to their own, really. But me personally, I do like I like acting as well as singing, so I've always liked being a character as opposed to going out and being myself, because I can be quite awkward. So whenever I've done something where I've had to go and sing and be me, I just end up being like funny unintentionally, and people just laughing with me because I'm saying awkward things. So I don't think I would want to go down that route.
That's quite funny though. You're saying you're quite like, you can be quite awkward,
really
but
awkward.
you can get on a stage in front of hundreds of thousands of people and
switch on and be
awkwardness
someone else.
It doesn't even come across at all.
Oh, really? Oh.
Yeah, and I think that's a
Unless
thing
it's
for
me.
I think that's a thing for a lot of performers though. How you are sort of on a personal like chatty level can be totally different to.
You've got to
sort
switch
of,
on and sort of imagine get into that headspace as well.
Yeah, for sure.
If someone's hiring Elsa's got to show up.
That's another thing. That's a skill in itself. That I'm trying to incorporate.
Yeah.
That I'm trying to incorporate into Enchanted Events is the consistency of characters, because they are actually hard. You can't just do the same thing for every single character, which is why I've started now doing training videos for any new people that come on board, because I want them to get involved in the vision and be obviously consistent across everything that we're doing, because it's not as easy as just going out and doing the same thing for every character.
And I guess that would sort of differentiate Enchanted Events Manchester to potentially other princess party companies as well. Like it's the more the business has grown, the more particular you're having to be about specific things, about specific characters. It's not just turning up and being princess-like. It's the nitty-gritty of each character. And I don't know, I would definitely think that's what sort of separates you as well from competitors in that way.
Yeah, I mean, obviously everyone's got their own visions and that's fine. And at the end of the day, we're all kind of doing these existing characters that are not our own. We've not thought about them from scratch. Obviously, we're not affiliated with the Walt Disney Company in any way, but we are putting our own versions of that out there. But for me, it's just about, I just want to bring as much magic to the children, and it's their special occasion, and you don't realise how much that means to them.
Yes, it must be a very rewarding job and really a very rewarding business.
And I would never just want to go and do a half-hearted job and charge someone a lot of money, and they're, you know, that to that family, they want to have the best occasion for their child.
And then those kids will remember that
and they remember
forever,
it forever. Yeah. And I want to be part of that, but in like a high standard way. I want it to be attention to detail. I think that's really important with anything. I would, like me personally, I wouldn't want to hire somebody, pay a lot of money, and then they've just not thought about the small things, because I think it's really obvious when someone's just doing a generic, just giving something quite generic,
maybe
and there's not
for
a
the
lot
wrong
of thought
reasons.
behind it, and the wrong reasons, and it's a bit more maybe self-indulgent. They're just doing it for photos for their own gain and like Instagram and things, whereas for me it's about giving that magic to those kids and adults and whoever books us. And I like to make it as personalized as I can as well, and I have had some feedback on that, which has been nice, that people have noticed that I make it quite personal to people. Like, I ask a lot of questions, personal questions, so we can make it personalized, and it's not just going in there and it could be anyone, like taking that time to get to know who we're doing it for as well.
Enchanted Events Manchester is obviously growing now, and you're looking for new performers. Tell us a little bit about that, who you're looking for, how can they get in contact with you? Yeah, let us know.
So we're always looking for new performers for the books. They need to be 18 and preferably have their own car and be able to drive, because we do go all over Greater Manchester to lots of different events. But you can search Enchanted Events Manchester on Instagram, Facebook, our website, and you will see our email address on there, so you can send your spotlight CV or your headshots, CVs, etc., performing CVs over to us to be considered. And yes, we're always looking for new talent, so if you would like to come and join us in creating all the magic, please do so.
Get involved. I'll give you a testimony right now. You won't regret it. As a singer and a performer, like you say, you don't always get the chance to perform weekly, and Enchanted Events provides you with that opportunity for sure.
Yeah, especially if you do have an agent and you are auditioning, you've not quite got a contract in place at the moment. I do feel like a job like this is, I'm trying to create opportunities for performers to just stay in the industry in whatever capacity it is. I feel like it's better than not being. Because a lot of performers will do side jobs that's nothing to do with the industry, and that's fine. And it's obviously you've got to earn a living. But why not come and do something in the industry that's exciting? I mean, obviously it's quite niche if you're not into that particular, if you're not into characters, princesses, etc., then don't apply, obviously. But if you are and you enjoy it and you want to have fun and get paid for it, the opportunities are there. So take them. Always take them.
Yeah.
Amazing. Well, thank you so much for coming on and talking about your business and yourself. It's been really inspiring to hear about you, how well you've grown the business, and how sort of much you care about the business as well, which is, I think, is a massively important thing.
Yeah.
So yeah, thank you so much for spending your time with us.
Yeah. Thanks for having me. I would talk all day, but yeah, thank you for having me. I've really enjoyed it.
I think that's why we get on. We never stop.
Amazing. Happy?
Yeah, all good.